Hey, what's going on, guys? Elliott and Morgan here from Movie Files, here to give you guys our thoughts on our probably most anticipated show of the year, other than Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and so on. But Stranger Things, we are huge fans. We weren't here to give you guys our recap on last year, and we'll touch on the first season, but kind of our layout for what we want to do for you guys is we want to present you guys with our review for episodes 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and then 7 through 9. But before we get into that, let's just talk about season 1. What were some of the things that you took away from the phenomenon of season 1 of Stranger Things?
Yeah, so my most favorite thing about season 1, hands down, was the chemistry with the characters. They picked a phenomenal cast. I love seeing Winona Ryder in there. She did a great job. And then, for the most part, everybody else was really kind of a newbie. We had children actors, so of course it's not like they've got a huge resume, but they did a phenomenal job. The kids did so good. And then it was shot so well. I love the nostalgia of the 80s. I'm a 90s baby. But that still resonates with me. I really like that, how they paid homage to some really phenomenal 80s movies. And then what I really loved is that they turned it into a series instead of doing a movie. I thought it was just very fun.
Benefits of having a series and developing the characters.
And then last but not least, it was genuinely scary to me. We binged this. I don't think I was as familiar, but then Elliott brought it up, so we binged it. A lot of the times we were watching it at night, and I just specifically remember there were moments I was sitting on the couch, and our couch where we last lived, it was parked right in front of our front door, and I just always was looking back, is this thing gonna come get me? So it was genuinely scary to me. I enjoyed it all around. I thought it was a really great show.
And same here. Same as what Morgan said, the cast, the chemistry, the story, the acting. I mean, we can do a whole show on how phenomenal season 1 was. But to prepare ourselves for season 2, we recapped season 1, and again, it's such a great show. I can't talk more positively about the show. Just such a phenomenal show. We were, I would say, excited is probably an understatement. We were super excited. We couldn't wait to season 2. I'm sorry, I'm speaking ahead. But season 2 of Stranger Things, and we were excited to get to you guys. So let's just jump right into it. So season 1 kicks off with season 2. I'm just blown away by this episode. I'm sorry, but season 2 starts off. The title was called MadMax, and we get a pretty cool cold opening. We get this sequence where we see it's a robbery taking place, and we see a group of people get into a van, on the run from the cops, kind of a chase sequence, and we see that the cops are close on their tails, and a young lady in the car, I can't think of her name now, but she obviously has some powers. Very similar to Elle,
has a tattoo. We find out she's like
number
Elle,
8,
number 8. So we'll just call her 8.
You'll call her 8, I think they said her name. I can't remember, but we see that this 8 character is able to manipulate a cop's mind while they're chasing them, and she's able to. She says bang, and it looks like the bridge that they're driving under has collapsed, or a tunnel. But that was all in his head. So she obviously has really worked her powers.
So
and super
badass.
Cool.
It was so you are literally starting out with a bang.
Literally.
It was really, really cool.
So we see that they obviously have other test subjects that they have done in this facility that we got in season 1, and maybe she has kind of honed in on her power and has more control than what we see with Elle. So we're kind of just seeing where everyone's at. We get a recap. We see that the boys, the crew is still as funny as they were as season 1. We see Hopper, being Hopper. One of my favorite characters from season 1 was Hopper. We also get introduced to this character named Max. We don't officially meet her, but we see that the boys are at an arcade. They see that one of their scores have been
beaten by MadMax.
Yep.
And they have got to find out who this character is. So.
We also get introduced to Joy's new boyfriend,
Joyce,
Bob.
her boyfriend Bob. So.
And then we also kind of see in the episode that obviously this is what we expect from someone that's going through all this craziness. Will is suffering from PTSD, which during the 80s, during this time that the story takes place, it wasn't as well known as it is now as far as what people go through when they have these huge, crazy things that take place in their life.
How to help people with it and things like that.
And then we also see within that sequence, we're introduced to a group of new scientists, one in particular who's kind of manning the crew or kind of the leader of the pack. He seems to be a good guy, but
and it seems like Will meets with him at least monthly. So kind of like a doctor and just kind of Will shares what's going on, which seems pretty convenient for this guy to be meeting with Will so often and knowing exactly what's going on in good old what's the name of the
Hawkins?
Good old Hawkins.
Yeah, and we see too that, and it was touched on in season 1, but it's really touched on now that they've Hopper and everyone that was involved in season 1 has come to some type of agreement with this new facility and these scientists. So we'll see where that kind of plays out. So overall, and also too, I'm gonna leave out, they did put follow up on Nancy and Steve Harrington's kind of relationship. We see that there's still a thing. We see that Steve's in his senior year, he's getting prepared for college, and Nancy is helping him out with that. So we see that their relationship seems to be strong as ever. So a good episode. What were your thoughts on episode 1 from MadMax?
I mean, it made me interested, that's for sure. You were introduced to new characters right off the bat, interested in knowing where everyone was at. Obviously at the end we know that Will and Elle were separated, so it was just going to be interesting to know where that was. So it was a good episode.
And I forgot to leave out too, the episode did end with we didn't get Elle the whole episode, but we got her at the very end. We see that she's now
with Hopper.
She has a roommate, and that's Hopper, which I thought was a pretty good end to the episode. So same with me, I thought it was a great episode to start off the season. It was a setup episode. We kind of familiarize ourselves, look, okay, these are the people we love, this is the element, we're back into Hawkins, but then we also get introduced to these new characters, which I'm interested to find out more about. So episode 1, kudos. I mean, what did you think? It was a great episode.
It was good, yeah.
I'm excited to be back in this world, to be in the Hawkins town and get more of the mythology of the Upside Down world. So on to episode 2. Alrighty, guys. So episode or chapter 2 was titled Trick or Treat Freak. So great episode, another great episode. But basically what happened was we see that nothing comes easy for the town of Hawkins. Even on the most, you think of Halloween as a fun time, but obviously that's not going to be the case with this weird town. So we see that the boys and the crew are getting prepared for Halloween. They wear some really awesome
they're the cutest Ghostbusters. So I know we all saw that in the trailers leading up to it, so they were just so adorable.
Yeah, those costumes are awesome. But before we get into that, we actually kind of start the episode off with Elle, because we didn't get much of her in the first episode. So we kind of get this backstory. We see that she escapes the Upside Down world moments after season 1. We see that she gets out. We see that the first thing she does is goes to Mike's house, and obviously during that moment, Mike is being and his family is being interrogated by the military and the government. They're trying to get answers out of Mike, but as great Mike, the great character that he is, he doesn't spill any beans. And there's a moment there where he sees Elle in the window, and I think they see each other, but it's not really touched on. But I think he noticed, he felt her presence. But obviously Elle had to get out of there because the place was swarming with police officers and government. So we see Elle runs off into the forest, into the woods, and we kind of get a backstory of what she's been up to, kind of fending for herself, eating squirrels, taking people's clothes. She's just a straight savage now.
Yeah, she is savage.
Savage.
That's literally what I said. I was like, damn, Elle.
Yeah, so she's going through some tough things. So after we kind of see that moment, the backstory of Elle, we kind of go back into present times, and we see that the boys are going out to trick or treat. We see that Will is going out with the crew, but also we've seen this from episode 1 that Will now is like on lockdown to a sense, which is warranted. His mom is really making sure that she knows where he's at.
Is not getting away again.
We're gonna drop you off. We're gonna pick you up this time. So and it's warranted, because again, you can only imagine if your kid is gone for that long and you find them. You want to keep an eye on them.
And then just knowing that he was in another dimension, it's pretty crazy.
And then you also see too, which I think is this show, the writers are so great. We see that obviously one of the things I was wondering or hoping that they addressed was this kid goes missing for a week, and
the town thought he was dead.
Right, and we see they touch on that. People are picking on Will, they're calling him Zombie Boy and kind of making fun of him. And I think again, and so far we've gotten more moments with Will this season than we did last. Yeah. And the actor Noah, who's playing, has done a phenomenal job so far. So we see he's getting bullied. People are calling him names. But meanwhile, we see that they're going out to do their trick or treating, and they now have Max. They've been Lucas and Dustin is trying to recruit Max the last few episodes, and we see that she kind of gravitates towards them, and they have a fun night. But one of the crew members isn't too happy with it. Mike is not happy that MadMax or Maxine has joined their crew, obviously because he's it's a girl, and it, probably reminds him of Elle. So he's not a big fan of this new addition to their crew. But as they're going out to trick or treat, we see Will is going through these episodes. He's kind of these traumatic inside. Is it the real?
He's like in the real world, and then he's in the upside down. And...
So we see that he has this episode of kind of experiencing this huge creature kind of form in the sky and chase him, and he's tied up, or he's in a corner scared out of his mind, and his best friend Mike comes to get him out of that dimension. They share a nice little moment too where Mike is obviously...
I call Mike the dad of the group. He is literally the dad. It's so adorable. But he definitely kind of like it's like, you know what, let's go home. I'm gonna take you home. And
they share a moment. He says he misses Elle, and Elle would maybe be able to help him out. And
this is the first time Will actually shares what's going on with his friends. That was one thing that I'm really liking about the show is like, how usually in movies and TV shows, they keep everything in until shit really goes down. Like Will is expressing to his mother, the scientist, Hop knows what's going on. He doesn't want to tell his friends because he just feels out of place, and he feels like everyone treats him differently. But he finally opens up to Mike. So they're like all on the same page, which usually in movies and TV shows, and even in real life sometimes it's like you're not on the same page because we're not being honest with what's going on.
I'm glad you brought that up again with Will. Again, he's doing a phenomenal job so far, but there's a moment where him and Jonathan share a moment, and Will just like, I'm a freak, and Jonathan takes that moment to kind of let him know you are different, but that's a good thing. So I think again, in this show, again, I can't talk more about the writers, but they just touch on things that, encouraging people and saying, hey, it's good to be different. So,
and another thing that I really like about this show is they tie up loose ends, which I feel like a lot of shows do not. But they really don't leave questions unanswered. So going into this, if you're starting to watch it or you haven't yet, I'm sure you are. If you're a Stranger Things fan, then you've probably already binged it all. But they really tie up loose ends, which I really, really like. Even if it's something small, they answer questions. And then on the flip side, while you're seeing all of this happen, I did want to mention, because this is going to be a big, juicy part of the story, is... it kind of starts in episode 1, which we didn't touch on it, and then leads into episode 2. But we have a pumpkin patch that these pumpkins have been poisoned, and then now it's getting bigger and bigger. People's crops are dying. These farmers are really suffering, and Hop starts investigating it. So just wanted to mention that as you're seeing kind of two different stories. You're seeing the boys and them kind of doing their thing, but then you're seeing Hop and his team investigate what is going on with these pumpkins, which and crops, which Hop does finally kind of, he finds the cause, what he thinks might be the cause, which is the lab, and he kind of figures that out in this episode.
And some other storylines they pointed on that we didn't touch on episode 1, but Nancy and Steve, we touched on a little bit that their romance and their love is getting stronger, but in this episode they're showing that they're not as happy as we thought they were. They attend this little party, and we get a little bit more of Billy. Drunk. We get more of the Billy character a little bit, which is Maxine's brother. But Nancy gets drunk. She they have a moment.
Basically tells him she doesn't love him. She basically says to Steve, "I don't love you." He gets upset, leaves her. This girl's drunk, and then Jonathan comes and saves the day. So it kind of touches on their relationship. So just to talk about what we liked about the episode.
Also, and another little thing too, before we get into our likes and dislikes, but the episode did have a nice little stinger at the end. We see that Dustin's on his way home from trick or treating, and there's something going on in the trash can, which I'm ended. So we'll see what episode 3 has to offer us. But on to the
and with you saying that, I'm just thinking literally every single episode they leave you with this tiny cliffhanger, and I am so thankful that it's not on Netflix and not on actual television, and I don't have to wait 7 days to watch the next episode. I can just stream it right then and there, because they leave you with these little notes where you're just like, man, what's gonna happen next? So but I guess we're talking about what we like about the episode. So it's interesting, Elliott does not like Nancy and Steve together.
I wouldn't say that. I just think that they don't. I think their relationship is.
He wants her with Jonathan. I like Jonathan, but I like Steve too. I think he's a good guy. But, and you know what, we didn't touch on this either, but Nancy has been meeting with Barbara's parents.
Which we see that's one of the reasons why.
And that's kind of like her breaking point, because she's just tired of pretending, which, I mean, you know, how can you not be tired of pretending at this point? Like, all of this stuff happened, and then, you know, they, as we mentioned before, it's like they made a deal with the government that they're not going to speak on this, and it's like, that's a lot. It's a lot, you know, for an adult, but it's a lot for teenagers and kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think in this, you know, Nancy is dealing with a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
She's grieving Barbara. You know, you imagine that they've been like best friends, you know,
day one
since day one. Yeah. And she lost her best friend, and she kind of has something to do with it. You know, she chose Steve over Barbara, and, you know, Barbara's gone because of it. So, you know, I think that is where the anger stems from. But I do think Steve's a good guy. At first, I thought he was kind of a douche in season 1, but he really did end up being a good guy. But I think that they're trying to show you, you know, it might not be Steve that she ends up with. It might end up being Jonathan. So,
which, some other questions that I'm looking forward to for the episodes to come. You know, we see, like I said, we see this relationship between Hopper and Elle. You know, is Hopper? Yeah, obviously he cares for Elle in a sense that, you know, she's doesn't have her mom, doesn't have a family, so he obviously gravitates towards that. But then also, as we learned now in season 1, you know, he lost his daughter, so, you know, Hopper and this Elle relationship is pretty interesting.
It's almost like, you know, he's filling a void with Elle.
Yeah.
So and then you see Will, you just feel bad for him, like this poor kid, you know, he's been through so much, and you know, now I think it's real. I think what he is experiencing is real. I think he is going in and out of this place. I mean, they mentioned he was there for a whole week. So in the Upside Down in season 1, he was missing for a week. So you would imagine that would be the time frame. So I do think he's drifting in and out. He doesn't really know what's real and what's not real. And then obviously, as we know, we have a season 2, so we know things are about to go down anyway. So, you know, I definitely think it's real. You feel bad for this young kid suffering through something that he doesn't understand, and that really no one can help him with, except maybe Elle.
Yeah.
So it's like, we need homegirl, and then maybe eight that we met in the beginning.
Yeah. So other things I wanted to, you know, that I'm looking forward to, we see that Elle's powers are obviously getting stronger. She's able to close doors with her mind and just do a lot of different stuff. So it's interesting to see where her powers kind of evolve to throughout the season. We get a little bit more on Billy. Like I said, we see him at the party. We see him and Max have a kind of an argument in the car. We'll essentially see where their storyline plays out and how they kind of go into that. Yeah,
you can tell he blames her for being there, and then it seems like she blames him. So I'm really interested to see why they are in Hawkins and then what their relationship is. Because he says to a girl, I imagine is his little girlfriend or whatever, to not call MadMax his sister.
Or Max, yeah.
So anyway, he says, you know, that's not my sister. So I don't even know, are they related or what? And where are their parents? I don't know. And Billy's a dick. He's terrible.
Yeah,
so
he's not a great guy. So we also, I mean, he might redeem himself. We thought the same with Steve, so we might see a 360 with him. But
it's like anyway, the Joffrey of Game of Thrones, but on Stranger Things. He's terrible. He's so mean.
We do see that Joyce and Hopper share another moment, and they touch on this a little bit in season 1. But it'll be interesting to see if they did have maybe a relationship can grow out of their past experiences. But then also,
and I want them together. I really do. I think they're
This episode really does show that these visions that Will is having is really intensifying, which I think we'll pick up a lot more in episodes.
And the scientist, doctor, whatever, at the lab that meets with him, he tells Joyce, he's like, they're going to get worse. They're only going to get worse, which I don't think that this guy's intentions are good anyway. But
and it'll be interesting to see, too, you know, as his visions intensify, you know, are we going to learn more about time and space with Upside Down? You know, we spoke that he was missing for a week in season 1, but how long in the Upside Down world was he there? Maybe a year or 2.
Yeah, so for sure.
I'm looking forward to see where that goes. So that was our recap on episode 2, Trick or Treat Freak, and we're excited to get on to episode 3. So we'll be giving that review to you guys shortly.
Hey guys, we are back with Chapter 3 of Stranger Things, and this episode was titled Pollywog, which had me really excited because as a kid, I loved watching Gullah Gullah Island, and it had Binya Binya Pollywog. If you're cool like me and you used to watch the show, you would know all about that. Yeah. So I love the title of the episode.
So episode 3 picks up immediately after the events of episode 2, where we see Dustin seeing some strange noise, some crazy noise going on in his trash can. He opens it up and finds a pollywog. Yeah, he does.
Well, he doesn't know what it is.
Right, he doesn't know what the creature is. So we see he really takes to this creature. He's feeding it. Puts it in his turtle's cage. He just really enjoys this new creature. But we know that creature might not be as good as Dustin may hope it to be. But we see that he really is fond of this creature. We also get more and more backstory on Elle and Hopper's relationship that they have developed. We see that they have come up with codes and come up with rules and things of that nature. We see that the home or the hideout that they're in is Hop's old his grandfather's house, old cabin, and we see that he actually they use it as storage, but we see that the storage is some of his daughter's pictures and belongings. So we see kind of a little montage of them cleaning it all up, and again, it's just really showing you that Hop and Elle have built this really cool relationship, and it makes it even more juicier for the episodes to come, because we'll see what events take place with Elle and the government looking for her. So as we kind of see that play out, we find Elle is just not excited about her situation being
obviously. I mean, it's been a year and she's always been in this house because it's not really safe for her to be out and about.
Right.
So yeah, she is stir crazy and she's ready to get out.
And again, they show us,
and she misses Mike.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they touch on this in episode 2. They really do. Again, I want to know what her powers are leading to. We see that now she can just go in and out of the inside out. When she shares a moment with, well, not with Mike, but she envisions what Mike is doing and see that he misses her just as much as he misses him. So we see again.
Yeah, and she sees things that are happening in real time. Like the scene where she goes to that place, she sees something that Mike actually did.
Yeah, and then we get more, as we touched on in episode 2 on our review. We get more of this breakout of this pumpkins. Hop is really nailing down,
linking it
to the facility, and we see that he's really kind of
and saying you guys need to research this.
Again, we get more of this, a little bit more, that they have some agreement where they're not going to say anything, but you have to play by my rules.
And to me, it's pretty obvious that this guy is not to be trusted. Yeah. Who they're working with, who they're dealing with, they're not to be trusted, because as you're seeing Will there, you have people watching them on camera, and we don't know who these people are. So it's definitely probably gonna go down.
Yeah, and then we also get more of not necessarily backstory, but we see that Joyce and Bob, their relationship is really kind of manifests into something good. I think it's too good to be true, but we see that throughout the episode and throughout the previous episodes that he seems to be a perfect guy for him.
No.
They share a moment where Bob tells her, I was a nerd in school and now I end up with with you. So we'll see where that relationship goes.
It ain't sweet. Shit ain't sweet. I don't trust this guy.
We'll get to that when we talk about review. But anyway, back to the recap. As the episode progresses, we see that we'll kind of wrap up here. The episode was really focused more on the kids. We haven't gotten the most out of the kids yet as far as just screen time, because obviously we have some other interesting characters. But we see that throughout the episode, Dustin wants to show his friends and the crew this new creature that they found. He gives it a name, calls it Dart. They want to show it to their teacher, as we saw from season 1. They're really close with their teacher, but they wanted to show him. But Will tells Mike that this creature might have been the creature that we saw in episode 1, the very last episode, where he spits it out. So he's a little not
and
as
Mike
keen.
Shuts it down.
Yeah, he grabs,
again, being the dad of the group, he's like, it was just a prank. Yeah. Grabs it and they run.
And as we see this going on, they don't want Max at this point is really kind of in the group, so they don't want Max to know about kind of what's going on with Will and the creature and everything. Yeah, so they're in this room and we see the creature starting to grow, and he eventually escapes, and we see them chasing after the creature, and Will actually finds it in the bathroom. But again, with these visions that Will has, he goes into the little vision, upside down, and we see that he's running from the creature. But while Will's in upside down, they can't find Will, but we see that Will's in this place, and there's a moment in the episode where Bob's character is taking Will to school. And he tells him the story about
when he was a kid, a clown came up to him, scared him, and he had nightmares.
he eventually kind of tells the story. I mean, if you will go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, he's having these nightmares, and then he finally said, he would never go away. And then finally, in his dream, he stood up for himself and said, "Leave me alone." And that's what happened. He left him alone. So he is kind of encouraging Will to do the same. Although Will has not shared with him the extent of what's going on. We don't know if Joyce has shared this with him or not. I'm not sure. Yeah. I doubt it. But it's almost like he knows more than what he should. So
we see that Will is taking heed of his advice and stops running from this shadow creature or demon and stands up to him, telling him to leave him alone. But that doesn't do anything. It seems like it seems like the shadow demon has now consumed Will, and we might be having
seeing
Will
a little crazy ass little boy in the next episode.
He might be possessed from here on out for the rest of the season. But we'll see. So again, this is another 3 for 3 for me. What were your thoughts on tonight's or the most recent episode 3?
Yeah, it was really good. It left us with a cliffhanger. Something that also happens in this episode is Nancy and Steve kind of get back together. Nancy doesn't remember any of
from her
drunken night and telling Steve that she doesn't love him. Yeah. And then Steve basically is like, you know what, you need to just go to your boyfriend, Jonathan, whatever. So Jonathan and Nancy, they team back up, and Nancy, I don't know where she's going with this, but they go and they get a Walkman from Radio Shack where Bob works, and she calls Barbara's mom and basically tells her, like, I've been lying to you. I need you to meet me at this place tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. And then you see that these people,
these phones are tapped.
They're all tapped. Like, come on, you idiots. But anyway, they leave us with these cliffhangers, which just make you want more and more and more, which kind of sucks, because what's going to happen, even though you don't have to wait a week, I'm sure the episode 9 of this season is going to leave us with a big juicy cliffhanger, and we're going to be really excited for season 3. But anyway, that was a nice job. It really left you wanting more. Also with Will, it's like, is he going to be possessed? I don't know. And then another thing, Joyce and Bob, I'm really questioning Bob's motives. It just seems almost too convenient to me that, where they went to high school together. It's like, where has he been this whole time? Why are they just now getting together now? It just seems too convenient. And then also, to me, it seems like, Joyce is head over heels for him, but it doesn't seem like her boys, Jonathan and Will, are too keen on him.
Which would make sense. Yeah. I mean, they've had their mom most of their life. Their dad, obviously, from season 1 isn't the best dad.
I don't trust him. I just guarantee you he's going to have something to do with the government, or the government's going to have put him up to this, and it's not going to be what we all are thinking, like, oh, he's this nice guy.
And which would be a nice spin, because if you guys are familiar with Sean's film history, he's always a good guy. He was in the Goonies, he was in Rudy, he was obviously in Lord of the Rings, so he's always been a good guy. So they might switch it up this time around. So,
and besides that, I want him to be a bad guy, because I want Hop and Joyce to get together.
For sure. Some other things that this episode kind of touched on that I forgot to mention was, we see that, after Elle leaves the hideout, she finds, Will. She goes her way to school.
Crazy girlfriend.
She goes to school, but she runs to a neighbor and shows off her powers. And obviously, it has the government now, like, oh, maybe she's not upside down. So they touch on that a little bit, but we see that Elle sees Will interacting with Max, and she doesn't like that. She pushes Max off of her
with her mind. I was like,
skateboard with her mind.
I mean, it looked like she was gonna break her arm.
She wasn't happy with that sight. So I mean, some things we're looking forward to see.
You can see in his eyes, he knows that she is there.
He can feel her presence.
He turns around and he's like,
so
where is she?
We'll see with that. It's kind of weird with kids, but we might have a love triangle going on with episodes to come.
I think Lucas and
Dustin have the thing for
they
Max.
Have their eyes
I think
out
Max gravitates towards Will because he's been a little closed off, or Mike. I'm sorry, gravitates towards Mike, but obviously Dustin and Lucas are showing attention. So we'll see where that plays out as for episodes to come. So another thing too is that that little creature. Are we going to get more creatures from the Upside Down kind of spill its way into the town? Because I think, where they're getting at is that the Upside Down is now transforming into Hawkins. So we'll see where that goes as well. So another great episode. Like I said, 3 for 3. I mean, this show phenomenal. We're gonna have the episodes 4, 5, and 6 reviews coming up maybe later today or tomorrow for you guys. So we're excited. You know, we hope you guys are excited as well. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you guys think of the season so far. Are you guys excited? Are you binging and you can't wait to finish the rest of the season? So let us know what you guys think. Again, like and share this video for all these Stranger Things fans, and as well as follow us on Instagram at Movie Files and on Twitter at Movie Files Live. So we'll see you guys shortly with some more reviews to come.